Amanda Seymour. You're the wife of Charles Seymour, aren't you?
I haven't seen the man for 2 years, so why don't you just run along and leave me alone?
My name is Margie Hallam.
We all have a name. Goodbye.
Your husband is running for the Conservative Party leadership. In time, he could be Prime Minister.
So what? Screw him.
It must have been fascinating living with Seymour.
Fascinating is definitely not the word I would have chosen.
But you must have a story to tell. Mrs. Seymour, how would you like to make yourself £100,000?
You're still going through with this charade. Don't you realize I would have won on the first ballot if you hadn't stood?
Possibly, Charles, but I haven't had so much fun in years.
Who the hell gave you your seat in the first place?
I well remember, and I remember the price you exacted for it. Well, now it's my turn to call the tune, and I require something very different.
Oh, really? What are you hoping for? Chancellor of the Exchequer in my first administration?
No, I know my limitations. I'm not a complete fool. In return for putting you into number 10 Downing Street, I expect to be translated to the House of Lords.
Very well, I agree. If you and your 15 supporters vote for me next Tuesday, I'll put you in the Lords. You have my word on it.
Good. One small thing, old chum. Like you, I want it in writing.
I agree.
Hello, Charlie.
I thought I told you to stay away.
Changed my mind. I think I deserve a reward for being such a good girl.
Oh, really? What have you got in mind?
Fair exchange.
For what?
The world rights to my life story.
Your what? Who on earth do you think would be interested in you?
Don't be so naive, Charlie. It's not me they're interested in, it's you. The News of the World have offered me £100,000 for the unexpurgated story of life with Charles Seymour. Or what it's like to live with the second son of an earl who'll go to any lengths to become Prime Minister.
You can't be serious.
Deadly serious. I've made quite a few notes over the years. How you got rid of Derek Spencer but failed to pull the same trick on Clive Reynolds. The extremes you went to trying to keep Simon Kerslake out of the house. How your wife swapped the famous Holbein picture. Of course, the story which will cause the most interest is the one in which the real father of young Harry Seymour is revealed to an astonished public.
You bitch!
You know perfectly well that Harry's my son.
If you're thinking of hitting me again, perhaps I could include a chapter on how you assault your wife behind the closed doors of your peaceful Knightsbridge mansion.
What do you want?
I keep quiet for the rest of my life. You present me with 100,000 now, a further 100,000 when you become leader.
I think you've gone mad.
Not me, Charlie. I've always been sane. See, I don't have a paranoia to work out on dear harmless brother Rupert. The news of the world will love that part now that he's the 15th Earl.
They wouldn't print it.
They would when they learn that he's as queer as a £3 note. So our only son will gain the earldom even though he's not entitled to it.
No one would believe it. And by the time they print the story, it'd be too late anyway.
Not at all. I'm assured by my agent that the true reason behind the resignation of the leader of the Conservative Party would be an even bigger scoop than that of a one-time contestant.
$50,000.
100,000. It's only fair, Charlie. No story to the press. You become leader of the Conservative Party.
It's interesting to see how many different ways someone can ask for a favour if I become elected without actually asking for a favour.
Brilliant, the bastard.
I don't think so. Not even particularly clever. Clever would be, you get my vote, Kerslake, if you give me a job.
I was talking about Charles Seymour.
Oh, heavens. Not another speech by him telling us what he's going to do for the downtrodden poor when he becomes elected Prime Minister.
Far more subtle. He's donated a Holbein portrait of one of his ancestors to the National Gallery.
Good God. There are no depths to which you'll not sink to win this election.
My dear Fiona, by any standards, you have delivered the coup de grace.
Yes, I thought you'd appreciate it.
I particularly enjoyed the comment of the director of the National Gallery. That Charles's gesture of presenting the priceless painting to the nation was the act of a selfless man.
Of course, once the story had been leaked to the press, Charles had little choice but to go along with it.
I worked that out, old thing, and I'd have given a dozen bottles of my finest claret to have seen his face the moment when he realized that the first Earl of Markham had escaped his clutches forever.
If he had denied giving the portrait to the gallery, the publicity that would have followed would have ensured defeat in the election. Win or lose, he didn't dare then suggest it was all done without his approval.
I love it, I love it. I'm told that Princess Fergie will unveil the portrait on behalf of the nation. Rest assured, when she performs the official ceremony, I shall be there to bear witness.
Well, yes, but well, Charles.
Oh, I think by then he'll be preoccupied by more political matters.
Oh, so you've made up your mind?
Let me just say that I shall vote in the best interests of Alec Pimkin.
Look like you've run a marathon.
And like fight deputies, I bring news of victory.
Hope that doesn't mean you're going to drop down dead.
158 to 130.
I don't believe it.
Oh, go on, Simon, answer it. Can only be congratulations. You are now leader of the Conservative Party. Kerslake?
The mistake he made was presenting a priceless portrait to the nation a few days before the final vote. If only he hadn't done that, Kerslake's business dealings would have been enough to get Seymour elected.
My dear Fiona, like Sidney Carton, I considered it would be good to face my judgment day knowing I'd done one honourable thing in my life. Besides, I don't think that I should suit ermine and a coronet, whatever you may think.
You underestimate yourself.
No, but Charles did. I hear the divorce is on its way. 2 of them looks like carelessness, but it's hardly surprising. Still, we shouldn't worry. Charles will survive whatever happens.
He always wanted more than mere survival.
Charles wanted power. Nothing but. And now he's lost it. Well, what's he left with, And who is to blame?
So what's this all about?
The editor says he'll definitely use a ghostwriter, and the paper will have to halve their original offer.
Why?
Because they daren't print the better half of your story.
Why not?
No one would believe it.
But every word is true.
I'm not doubting the veracity of the facts, only the reader's ability to swallow them.
I'm sorry to broach such an embarrassing subject, Charles, but I felt it my duty to do so.
Harry is my son, and as such will inherit the title. He's a spitting image of great-grandfather.
In normal circumstances, I might agree with you. But this recent publicity has been brought to my notice.
Oh, that grubby little rag. Surely you're not going to take their word before mine.
Certainly not. But if Amanda is to be believed, Harry is not your son.
And how am I meant to prove that he is? I didn't actually keep a diary of every time I made love to my wife.
But it seems Amanda did. So I've had to take legal advice on the matter. And I'm informed that a simple blood test is all that will prove necessary to verify Harry's claim to the title. As you know, we both share a rare blood group, as did father and grandfather. If Harry is of that group, I shall never mention the subject again. If not, the title will eventually be inherited by our second cousin in Australia.
And what if I refuse to submit my son to this ridiculous test?
Then the matter must be placed in the hands of the family solicitors, and they must take whatever course they consider fit. If you were in my position, you'd have done the same.
The situation could never have arisen, Rupert.
May I make a suggestion?
Please do.
It could be arranged for Harry's school doctor to take a blood sample of, say, half a dozen boys, including Harry, as a matter of routine. That way, no suspicion would be aroused, and we would know by Easter when the school report arrives.
Ready, Daddy?
Oh, there you are, darling. Uncle Rupert's just leaving. Say goodbye.
Bye-bye, Harry.
Goodbye, Uncle Rupert.
Come and sit down. Now, let's see if we can guess how big a
There's
£5
no use in pretending we haven't got any problems. I know our majority is desperately small. But while the Tories are still preoccupied with their internal struggles, we must capitalise on it. And that means re-inflating the economy.
No. I've bent as far as I'm prepared to go. Already 2 major projects very dear to my heart have been dropped, and I don't intend to drop any more.
Look, Ray, your gloomy predictions about interest rates have only worsened the situation. You know damn well if we sneeze in this room, the city immediately cries double pneumonia.
I prefer to be publicly honest about the situation. Prime Minister, I am trying to attack the unacceptably high level of unemployment whilst being only too aware that our industrial competitors are pulling away from us every day. But I do not intend to sacrifice 3 years' hard work on the altar of vote catching.
Is it true?
Yes. It's true, Harry. You're top of the form.
Just like you, I knew it. Just like you.
Just like me, Harry. Just like me.
Seymour is here to see you, sir.
I'll ask him to come in.
Good evening, Simon.
Hello, Charles. I'm pleased you asked to see me after so long. Please sit down.
Thank you. As I'm sure you're aware, the Speaker is retiring at the end of this session.
Jack will be greatly missed. Also presented me with a problem I could do without. Because of the government's pitiful majority, they've asked me to supply a successor from my own ranks.
I would like to be considered for the job.
But why? It would end your career.
You don't think I'm suitable?
On the contrary. But if we win the next election, I should want you to return to the front bench and be my chancellor. You must know I'd be delighted to have you back on the team.
Well, that's very considerate of you, Simon, but I want the more restful life, being an arbitrator rather than an antagonist. I've lost the desire to be always on the attack. When I first entered Parliament, I only had one goal. We both did. And now I can't achieve it, I can't settle for less. Over the last 20 years, you've always had Elizabeth and the children to help you keep your feet on the ground. And it has only been quite recently that my own son, Harry, has been able to do the same for me.
I understand. I know the perfect man to propose you.
I beg to move that the Right Honourable Charles Seymour to take the chair as Speaker. He is a man I have known since he entered Parliament over 20 years ago, and he looked even then as if he were the headmaster and we were the mischievous little boys and girls and we had to keep him paid. But no one could question his authority or his skill, demonstrated forcefully on both sides of the House, and, as I know to my cost, as a rigorous party whip, culminating in his finest hour as Foreign Secretary. In my right honourable friend, we have a distinguished figure who will dispense his duties not only efficiently, but with that impeccable impartiality which is the very hallmark of his high office. Of course, he will be missed on the benches, but it is not goodbye, Mr. Chips. It is welcome, Mr. Speaker.
It gives me great pleasure to second the motion which was ably and graciously moved by the honourable member for Littlehampton.
It is with great humility that I now submit myself to the will of the honourable members.
The motion is that the Right Honourable Charles Seymour do take the chair of the House as Speaker.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that. Before I take the chair, I would like to thank the House for the great honour that you've bestowed upon me. And if I can retain the confidence of the House, I dedicate myself unreservedly to its service. Thank you.
Andrew Fraser, sir. Andrew. Simon, come and sit down. Drink?
No, thanks. It can't have escaped your notice that the recent by-elections have closed the gap somewhat between the government and yourselves.
Since I've had to make up for Charles Seymour, I was very determined to win Croydon East and Chesterford. Was the alliance found to your cost, I think?
Well, our seats plus yours now equal that of the government, leaving the 17 Irish members to decide the fate of Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
My point is Raymond Gould must be planning a popular budget to act as launching pad on which to fight the election. Now, I propose we move a no-confidence motion by the end of March before he's given the chance.
If we tabled a motion, how do you think the Irish would split?
Well, it can never be certain, but we've nothing to lose. And even if it doesn't come off, it'll unnerve the government, make them look uncertain in the country.
And if we win, it'll force an election before any budget.
Excuse me, sir.
Reoccurrence of the same damn silly thing that's been plaguing me for years. Only this time they say it'll take major surgery.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
You'll have to take my place in the no-confidence debate on Wednesday. If we lose that vote...
Don't even think of it.
If we lose the vote, the National Executive would automatically select you as party leader.
Yes, the significance of that particular standing order has been pointed out to me.
Joyce, no doubt.
No, her name was Kate, actually.
If we lose that vote, I've got no choice but to immediately call a general election. The future of this Labour government depends on you, Ray. So make damn sure you win.
Everyone knows the division will be called at 10 o'clock. But I must make it perfectly plain that if any of the division bells fail on the premises, or even if the lifts don't work, I shall not order the division to be held again. The Right Honourable Simon Kerslake.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this House has no confidence in Her Majesty's government. I'd like to begin by first congratulating Her Majesty's government on achieving its objectives as set out in the first censure debate of June of last year. Yes, they have reduced the levels of unemployment. Yes, old age pensions are at a record level. Yes, there is now a uniform standard of education. But, Mr. Speaker, what is the cost of this great socialist society that is the envy of the East? A public sector borrowing requirement that is out of control. What is the cost? Rampant inflation that destroys any real increase in benefit. What is the cost? The economy at a standstill, choked with punitive taxes. What is the cost? An education system impoverished by the death of the public schools that were once the envy of the world.
Speaker, is it not shameful that the opposition could not challenge the government on their own, but have had to cower behind the skirts of the minority parties?
Order!
Led by the Right Honourable Gentleman, the member for Edinburgh Carlton. It was he tabled this motion, and it is he who has walked into a trap. If they win, there will be a general election, which they will lose. And it will be the first time in recorded history that turkeys have voted for an early Christmas.
Listening to the speeches today from both sides of the House has finally convinced me that neither the party of my father, nor the party that I once held office in, have any more right to govern this country than Nero had to rule Rome. At least Nero recognized that the city was burning, did the honourable thing, and took his own life.
Mr. Speaker, I will not give way. The honourable gentleman opposite does not represent his party. And you do, of course. Yeah, well, the only reason you're here today is because the bar's closed.
Order! Let us concentrate on this important debate and not sink to personal abuse. Mr. Tennis-Carson.
Mr. Speaker, if personal abuse had been my aim, I might have reminded the House of one thing. If the Conservatives win the next election, then this country will be led by a man who recently made £300,000 just by shuffling a few bits of paper around in the city. That's the kind of casino-type society that has been created.
Order! Mr. Speaker, I know the whole House would wish me to open my speech by saying how sad we all are that the Prime Minister cannot be present tonight. I am sure all honourable members will want to join me in sending him, his wife, and his family our best wishes as he prepares for his operation.
Let's settle the waters a little. Well, come on, Ray. Start stirring it up.
When was the last time there was a major strike in this country for decent wages and civilized living conditions? I will tell him. When the Tories were in power. Which government allowed mountains of food to pile up in the warehouses of Europe and turned its back on the starving children of Ethiopia? And let nobody fool themselves into thinking that the alliance will prove to be any different. Like everyone else, I would be very fascinated to know what happened last Wednesday night. Did the alliance leader call for the Tory leader, or did the Tory leader call for the alliance leader? Which tail is wagging which dog? But I will remind the right honourable member for Edinburgh Carlton, in case he's forgotten, which he probably has, that we in the Labour Party are not afraid of a fight. Now, Mr. Speaker, I have placed this government's record before this House and before the British people. Should the threats of the parties opposite prevail and an election be called, we shall come back here with the real majority that the Labour Party requires to continue the Labour government for the next
5 years. Order! This House has no confidence in Her Majesty's government. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye! To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. Clear the lobbies! Clear the lobbies!
Ayes to the right, 323. Noes to the left, 322.
Now, who'll lead their campaign? Not a bedridden Prime Minister.
Ayes to the right, 323. Noes to the left, 322. The ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Well, how are you feeling?
Oh, I feel a lot better, thanks, even if I don't look it. Now, there's a lot to be done.
The Queen visited me here tonight.
Yes, I saw her leaving.
I advised her to dissolve Parliament immediately and asked her to set the general election for May the 9th.
Yes, we're all prepared for that.
I also explained that I intend to resign as Prime Minister as soon as the outcome of the election is clear. I also explained that I intend to resign as party leader immediately.
But I thought the doctor said you could carry on.
No. Now, You must summon the National Executive at once and get yourself elected leader. It won't be easy, mind. The unions are solidly behind you. The party needs an outstanding leader, Ray, and that must be you.
And you must also get used to the idea that in 3 weeks' time, either you or Simon Kerslake could be our next Prime Minister.
It is with great regret that the Labour Party has accepted the resignation due to ill health of Mr. Owen Hughes. He has served both party and country with honour and dignity. But it is with considerable pleasure that we've invited Mr. Raymond Gould to lead the party at the forthcoming general election.
Has Mr. Gould any statement?
That is all.
And so this dramatic election campaign begins in an extraordinary way. Never before have the roles of party leader and prime minister been separated. And since Labour Party rules demand that any leader must be reconfirmed at the annual party conference next October, were Labour to lose this election, Raymond Gould could be the shortest-serving Labour leader in history. Now, back to Walworth Road.
Gentlemen, give him room.
Mr. Gould, Mr. Gould, the Tories have a 2-point lead this morning. What effect will your appointment have on that?
Well, it will reverse it, of course.
Yes. Now, will you be filling in for the Prime Minister this evening and be dining with the Queen?
Yes, I shall be honoured to dine with the Queen this evening in celebration of her birthday.
And
now,
how is Mr. Hughes, sir?
We can talk some other time.
Good evening, Mr. Kerslake.
Good evening.
Oh, yes, indeed. My father used to take me some fishing.
The Right Honourable Simon Kerslake. Excuse me. Good evening, Simon.
Hello, Charles. Looking horribly well.
Thank you.
Andrew.
Simon, how are you?
I must say I'm impressed by the amount of coverage you've been getting.
Yes.
Quite the pin-up boy, aren't you?
Well, it's turned out rather...
The Right Honourable Raymond Gould.
Curiously enough.
Raymond. Congratulations on your election as leader. Thank you. One hell of a week. You must be exhausted.
Well, exhilarated, to be honest. Well, I hope it's going to be a good, clean fight.
Hello, Simon.
Raymond, how are you?
Hello, Andrew. You look absolutely splendid, if I may
Well,
say.
thanks very much. I'm surprised the damn thing still fits, to be honest.
It's very smart indeed. Her Majesty left Buckingham Palace a few moments ago. Thank you. Excuse me, gentlemen.
Good luck for the next 3 weeks, Simon.
Thank you, Raymond. And, of course, the same to you. Let's not forget the alliance.
Neither of you can afford to do that.
Right, well, this is it, right? Ready? Joyce?
Well, come on, Ray, all right. Hello, Joyce. How you doing? Stan, how you doing? You're my wife, hey? You're my wife, yeah. Now, I want you to meet Peter.
Today, the government announces that inflation has started to rise yet again. A temporary hiccup, we're told. Don't you believe it? Under Labour, inflation will march onward and upwards. And who's been Labour's Chancellor for the last 3 years? Raymond Gould, the man who now leads the party. This country demands a change of government before it is too late. Be sure you go to the polls and vote for that change. Vote for the future, with a party that cares. Conservatives care. Vote Conservative. Count on your vote, I hope, madam. Thank you very much. Yes, good. Thank you. I think the PR boys have been spending too much time on Madison Avenue.
Don't knock it. We're only at the end of the first week, and my plan have you only a point ahead.
A week is a long time in politics.
38% each. And this one gives the Alliance 22%. How accurate is that?
If my constituency is anything to go by, too close for comfort. Fraser is no longer just a pin-up boy. He's getting support from every level of society, not only the usual middle-class liberals.
Well, we shall know the truth in 2 days' time, but I must admit, for the first time since becoming Speaker, I wish I was out there again.
You could still have a great deal of influence, Charles. Especially if it's a close-run thing.
And on top of the inflation figures, ladies and gentlemen, we have the trade figures. We now have the worst deficit in the balance of payments for 3 years. Oil revenues are plummeting, and neither of the main parties has a clue how to rectify the situation.
Humbug!
As for Littlehampton itself, it could do with a member of Parliament who visits his constituency between elections, not just during an election campaign.
You're wasting your time, Fraser.
Well, you just carry on thinking that, Alec. So, in conclusion...
Hear the dribble they're barking out there? Same again, Hebe. My Hebe.
Look, Alec, look, I know I'm only your ex-chairman, but don't you think you're taking your re-election for granted? You can't win votes in a pub, you know.
Oh, this is a very fine pub. This is the best pub in the constituency, and I've told everyone I meet that they can visit me here any time they wish.
Look, the Alliance candidate has visited every pub in the division, not just this one, Alec.
Well, the more fool him. We can tell everybody that he's looking for any excuse for a pub crawl.
Alec, look, if Andrew Fraser has bothered to come down here to support the Social Democrat candidate, then Littlehampton must be regarded as a key marginal.
Oh, balder dash. Put him a donkey with a blue ribbon as Tory candidate in Littlehampton, then elected. Don't fret, my sweet.
Tories are ahead by 1 point. The Alliance have taken one from each of us.
Honeymoon, separation and divorce, all in 2 weeks. Whatever next?
Reconciliation, perhaps.
It's been 17 hours since the polls closed last night, and finally we have a result. And may I say that in 36 years as a political journalist, I've never experienced a result like it. Conservatives 293, Labour 292, SDP and Liberals 47, Irish 17, the Speaker 1. As you can see, only one vote splits the two main parties, thus denying victory to either of them. And if you look to the popular vote, there the outcome is even more finely balanced, with Labour actually taking 35.4%, the Conservatives 35.2%, and the Alliance 25.4%. Thus, it is the Alliance who now hold the key to which of the two leading parties will form the next government. In other words, this extraordinary election is still not over, and only one man, Andrew Fraser, has the power to decide whether Simon Kerslake or Raymond Gould will be our next Prime Minister. I'm sorry we can't bring you an interview with Mr. Andrew Fraser, because I understand that at this moment he is consulting Mr. Speaker Seymour on some fine constitutional points, a preamble to what will probably be the most momentous days in his life.
Charles, thank you very much indeed. Immensely.
Not at all. We'll talk again once you've made your decision and before you notify the palace. I must say, I don't envy your position.
Don't you?
Good luck, Andrew.
When did they start?
10 minutes ago.
How many of them are there now?
Littlehampton made 47.
No more Alec Pimpkin. The house won't be the same without him.
I'd like to begin by congratulating all our new colleagues on their election to the House. You've entered Parliament on the most momentous day the Alliance has ever known, a day on which we've been granted the opportunity and the power to shape the future of this country. But we can't afford to say that we will support one party and then, after only a few weeks, change our minds, thereby instigating another general election. We must be seen to be responsible. Otherwise, when the next election does come, every one of us will forfeit his seat. Now, I shall speak to both leaders tonight in person, and I shall present their opinions to you tomorrow. We must then come to our decision. Hopefully a government can be formed by Monday. So, we must define the terms and conditions you wish me to negotiate with the two main parties.
You know my objections to proportional representation. A, the Alliance still doesn't know what kind of PR it wants, and B, there isn't any kind of a mandate.
You're wasting your breath. It was in our manifesto. 8.5 million people knew they were voting for it. We demand a referendum.
Right, if you lot get your way, we'll become like Italy, a government every 6 months. The country becomes ungovernable.
Or like Germany, with the best managed economy in the West. We're ungovernable now.
2 cabinet members from the Alliance?
Yep.
And why not a Commons free vote on proportional representation? Why a referendum?
You know damn well why. The two main parties would throw it out. The vested interests are too great. But how many more times? The people must decide.
It'll compromise every candidate at every election. We're looking over their shoulders all the time, trying to reconcile a lot of very contradictory policies.
Look, I didn't expect either you or Raymond to like our proposals. I do expect you to accept them. Simon, I can't be Prime Minister on Monday. You could be.
Who will you choose?
I don't know. I've spent hours with 2 of our finest statesmen, both of whom I've known for over 25 years. And tomorrow I'll have to tell one of them that, well, as far as the ultimate prize is concerned, all of his years of effort have come to naught.
Andrew, whatever decision you make, it's going to be the right one. I know that. And I think that Raymond and Simon will know it too.
Scratch an SDP and there's a Tory underneath, unquote.
You Liberals have got short memories. We live the Labour Party, remember? Look, it does us no good whatever to fight among ourselves. We've got what we wanted from both parties. We must look forward, not backwards. Now, the only resolution I see to this is to hold a ballot, provided I have your categorical assurance that the result of that ballot, no matter how close, is absolutely binding. Conservative or Labour, Kerslake or Gould. Now, are we agreed?
I seem to have spent the last 30 years waiting for the phone to ring.
20 million voters in this country, and it's all down to 47 of them.
Kerslake, 23. Gould, 23.
In which case, it's up to you, Andrew. You've known both of these men for the best part of a quarter of a century. You must decide which man, and therefore which party, is best able to govern our country.
Welcome to number 10, Prime Minister.